So it's been a long time since I talked about a SpongeBob episode. About a year and a half from the time of writing, and with my track record the last several months, I'd say it would be about 2 years by now. The reason why is because I was working on a pair of videos looking at what would be the best and worst SpongeBob has to offer, but to be honest, while binging the series, I burned myself out in the little yellow sponge, and I just couldn't finish the series. And honestly, with the quality of the current seasons being so all over the place, it doesn't help the project. So after scrapping those videos, I thought about ranking classic SpongeBob with my friend, but our schedules have been hectic the last year, so that never got off the ground. Now I'm here because I just really want to talk about some good old classic SpongeBob. Can I just start by saying I love classic SpongeBob, and especially I love the old Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes. They're a send up to old superhero shows, and I loved getting to watch the first 5 every time they aired on TV. Even if when I was a kid, I thought that the first one was the worst, and the one we have today was always the one I could never remember. Despite loving these episodes, I do hate the naming convention. They named every single one essentially the same thing, making it nearly impossible to know which Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode you were watching. It took the better part of 20 years for me to learn that the Wumbo episode is the 4th one.
You got it set to M for Minnie, when it should be set to W for Wumbo.
So we begin as normal in the Krusty Krab when our titular heroes burst through the doors to vanquish their hunger. Also, with this being, I believe, the first time we see these two in the Krusty Krab, they have Barnacle Boy getting the kids' meal, which would come back in the following Mermaid Man Barnacle Boy episode. Unfortunately, Mermaid Man doesn't have enough lug nuts to pay the $5 for their meal, which makes me sad. Every fast food restaurant near me charges about $8 for a single burger meal, let alone one and a kid's meal. Because Squidward doesn't care about the two heroes, Barnacle Boy has to actually pay, and after snidely saying their names, SpongeBob sunders the wall in order to get an autograph from his 2 biggest heroes. Meanwhile, Mermaid Man decides to make himself at home while he eats. The problem being, now that SpongeBob is on their tracks, when they flee from him, Mermaid Man accidentally leaves his superhero belt behind as they rush to the invisible boatmobile, which we actually get to see, which was the coolest thing as a kid. Like, I straight up envy people who had Battle for Bikini Bottom on PS2. I only ever had the crossover games and SpongeBob Super Sponge. Before they can leave, however, SpongeBob finds a secret utility belt and tries returning it to Mermaid Man, but is unable to as they flee the scene. SpongeBob then goes on to do what any responsible person would and claims the belt under the rule of cool thing I found, which is the exact reason as to why I have this animation cell. So SpongeBob decides to hold on to the belt, immediately hitting the button for the small ray, also known as the Squidward punch button. Squidward investigates, finding out that SpongeBob has a belt, and I can't tell whether or not Squidward is supposed to know that SpongeBob low-key stole the belt, because his inflection never changes. I'm going with he knew immediately because no one would give SpongeBob a shrink ray thinking that he wouldn't abuse it. Shrink rays are just bad ideas. So Squidward goes to tell on SpongeBob just to make him squirm when SpongeBob, panicking, shrinks Squidward. Squidward demands to be returned to normal, but SpongeBob has no idea how to reverse the effects of the belt, quickly zapping Squidward over and over until he begs for mercy. Needing help to reverse the shrink ray, SpongeBob refuses to go to Mermaid Man, the only person who should know how to reverse the shrink ray, instead going to get help from someone else who's wise and has years of experience. After giving a quick explanation, Patrick almost kills Squidward, not realizing that the small octopus is indeed his neighbor, and SpongeBob stops him before explaining that he doesn't know how to unshrink Squidward. Patrick then diagnoses that the problem is that SpongeBob has the belt set to M for Minnie, when instead the correct answer is to set it to W for Wumbo. Unfortunately, this fix fails as Patrick is then shrunk to Squidward size. After once again refusing to go to Mermaid Man, SpongeBob shoves his friends into a jar, and we get another iconic line from Patrick.
My pickle started out in a jar, and now it's in one again.
And then SpongeBob starts panic shrinking everyone in town as he tries to figure out what to do, eventually shrinking everyone. It's here when the town is trying to convince SpongeBob to go get help that we learn that Mermaid Man has also been shrunken, and he rambles on about when he first used the belt.
The unshrink ray. Let's see, you just set it to Wumbo?
Now, I wanted to take a moment because this is what I really wanted to talk about. You see, it's obvious that Mermaid Man has used the shrink ray before, and he has had some trouble resizing everyone back to their original size. And if you've been on SpongeBob YouTube at all the last few years, you might have come across Alex Bale's SpongeBob theories. And what made me want to talk about this episode is one of his mini theories that he released. You see, it all started with this meme of the SpongeBob human skeletons. Alex theorized that these skeletons are crew members helping film a documentary about the town of Bikini Bottom. But I believe that this one line from this show tells a much different story. Because we know from Merman Begins in Season 8, our two heroes were people living on the surface until a number of unlikely events caused them to become Merman Man and Barnacle Boy. However, humans and the sea creatures are vastly different sizes, best seen in the first movie.
I love this job!
Bigger boot!
Because we know the Merman and Barnacle Boy have to have shrunk themselves at some point after them getting their powers and before the start of the series, that means the two must have shrunk themselves, and more than likely when that happened was when they first got the belt. And they must have accidentally also shrunken other people. We know that they have contact with other humans thanks to Merman and Barnacle Boy 5 later this season, so all the skeletons we see are in all likelihood people that Merman couldn't return to normal size after they were shrunken by the belt. And if Merman can't return people to normal size to the point where they have to live and die in the sea, then that means you can't Wumbo things. By the way, You Can't Wumbo Things is available in my shop right now, link in the description below. Upon realizing that you can't Wumbo things, the town explodes out of the jar and starts assaulting SpongeBob from the inside. While this is happening, SpongeBob comes up with a solution that helps everyone and shrinks the town, thus returning everyone to relative size.
I guess this is okay.
A classic episode that's just as funny as it was back when it first aired, and hopefully this wasn't too long from the last upload. I got sick almost immediately after uploading it and was out for 2 weeks. But if you want to see more content like this, like, subscribe, and comment too. I do take episode and series requests if there's something specific you want to see too, but until then, I'll see you guys later.